In the presence of broadcasting royalty, I made him, I'll never destroy. Michael Graham is in the building.
Hello.
And I've asked Quirk to move to the right so that he can...
I can't move much further to the right. He's not got much of the
We're not going to groom you. We're going to... No, we're joking.
Too late.
Good
yeah.
man.
Too late.
I hate to say this, says V from North Yorkshire, but this government is correct regarding the Waspi situation. I was born in '56 and I remember getting a letter, and this was the biggest conversation everyone who I work with was having. Don't understand that? Christina, Jez, the more help from Elon for reform the UK, the better. I'm a pensioner. I've never been so scared of a government in my life. This is not what we want. Ryan, happy birthday, says Graham Pack. Maybe you can be one of the mascots at the Vic on Boxing Day. Thanks for getting my messages read out. Kind regards. This is, I mean, really, what does that mean? Because Ryan's 32 today.
Is that a good thing to be a mascot of the Vic? Goodness me.
What, is that the old Vic or the Queen Vic? What is it? I've no idea. Vicarage Road, what a load of old crap. Anyway, Michael Graham,
yes.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Michael's got two brilliant stories. Do you want to do the serious one first?
I'll do the serious one first.
This is absolutely outrageous.
This has been handed to me just as I came in. The government has criticised Moscow's desperate rhetoric after a senior ally of Vladimir Putin has threatened the Times newspaper over its coverage of the assassination of a Russian general. This is a guy who was blown up by a scooter, basically.
Yes.
General Krylov, who was in charge of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical defence troops. He was killed by a bomb hidden in a scooter outside his Moscow apartment on Tuesday.
Yes.
The Times have covered it, obviously, in the way that they would. They're part of our organisation here.
Of course.
News UK, brilliant journalists. They do fantastic stuff.
They do.
Great jobs. Apparently, it now turns out the Prime Minister's official spokesman, who goes by...
is this Dmitry Medvedev?
No, Medvedev is the former Russian president, and he's current Deputy Security Council
He said the Times were legitimate...
he said the journalists at the Times
were legitimate military targets.
Right, yeah. So, you know, we're sitting here in a building which is apparently now seen by Russia as a military target. So some of these nutters that ring in and go, oh, you know, it's all the warmongers from the West, you know, it's Putin's actually doing the right thing, he's all right. Putin is not all right. He is a crazy... nutty warmonger.
But it's really interesting. I had a guy on. I put a phone down on a guy the other day because I said, "Go and live there." Listen to this. Whatever your name was, Dmitry Medvedev, the former Russian president, current Deputy Security Council, said journalists at the Times, our sister newspaper, were legitimate military targets and should be very careful as anything goes in London. Is that not a declaration?
So I'm going to be very careful of anyone with an umbrella on the way out here, I think.
Absolutely right. But, you know, the problem is that, you know, the Russians we've known for a very long time have got tentacles that reach into all parts of the world, and they do and have issued, you know, death threats to people, and they've carried them out as well.
Salisbury.
So, Salisbury, you might remember there was a guy who lived down near Cobham in Chelsea, who was a Russian sort of expat, who was living in like Abramovich from Chelsea, was seen as a kind of an enemy of Putin.
And what about the guy?
And he was suddenly found dead, and they went, "We think he killed himself." He really didn't.
Is this the guy in the bath?
Yes.
It's a mile from where I lived. They found him dead.
Right.
Legitimate threat, do you think?
I think it is a legitimate threat. I think you have to take anything seriously that's issued by Dmitry Medvedev, who's part of the Russian, you know, nation.
The Times journalists are legitimate military targets and should be very careful as anything goes in London. I don't think I've ever heard anything so astonishing in my life.
He's basically calling on Russian patriots, you
Yeah.
know, to make them a legitimate target for the Russian state. He says there's a whole legion of them. There's not even enough space to list them all.
It's extraordinary.
Isn't that incredible?
Well, look, I think we should send a little message to our Russian friends that, you know...
Oh, God, he's going to get brave. He comes on once a week.
Seriously, when it comes to the way that you might do things in Russia in terms of, you know, controlling the press and not allowing journalists to speak their minds and have an opinion, I'm afraid here it's rather different, particularly here, and we're going to continue to say what we say, believe what we believe, and stick our fingers on it.
But you know the problem with this ridiculous bunch of morons we call our government? One wonders how strong they'd be in the face of something like this. This is interesting. Stu's in Hales Owen. Have you been to Hales Owen?
I have.
You need my old right, mate.
Yeah, I have.
There used to be a joke about it, but it'll go down like a lead balloon.
I mean, to be fair, Foreign Secretary David Lammy has actually come out with a statement. He said, our newspapers represent the best of British values, freedom, democracy and independent thinking. I stand with the Times. So, you know, unusually for David Lammy, he's actually said the right thing.
Is he already seeing the exit from the Foreign Office in a column in the Times?
He's also called this a gangster threat that smacks of desperation, which it does. But you've got to take it seriously.
Very
for one time only, well done, David Lammy.
Yeah.
Stu in Hales Owen, I know it's terrible, everything that the Labour morons have done so far, but the big story is yet to come. I'm in business, and they are decimating all sectors of the businesses, and I just don't think people are grasping how much of an effect it's going to have to jobs and the cost of living in the next few months, never mind the next 4 years. Very very quickly, you on that, Russ, because Stu and Hal's own spot on, isn't he?
I'm afraid that the fingerprints of a Labour government always are left on such things as higher unemployment, higher inflation, higher interest rates. 5 months into this hapless bunch, we are already seeing it. GDP growth down, unemployment starting to rise, inflation rose today. It really is a concern. They are going to drive us into an economic abyss, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, Rachel Reeves is now being blamed, literally, for driving the economy off a cliff. But there is one growth area, though, and that is the public sector. You were talking earlier about the Avanti strikes that are coming up. You know, they're going to strike every Sunday from January to May. What the hell are they thinking, right? But meanwhile, over in the world of the civil service...
I love you doing that voice, I love it.
The head count has gone up since Labour got into power. There's now 515,000 pen pushers working in Whitehall.
515?
515.
Half a million people doing what?
Working in the Department of Defence, working in the Home Office, working in the Foreign Office. It's gone up 2,000 since Labour have been in power.
In just 5 months. And the bill was already £16 billion.
I mean, unbelievable. The Ministry of Justice added 595 staff to its ranks. Department for Work and Pensions, 355. Treasury brought in 315. And these are the people running the economy, by the way. And then they brought in 315 deaf and dumb idiots today.
But you know what Rachel Reeves thinks?
Probably not.
Rachel Reeves thinks that by bloating the public sector, that is her definition of economic growth.
Yeah. Well, this is exactly what they think. They think that by creating public investment, as they call it, that somehow that stimulates...
I remember 1979, there'd be 7 people stood on the side of a road in Viz jackets, of which 2 people could have done the job, and that was the idea of full employment. This is what we're dealing with. Firstly, Carolina in Bath. Hello, Jeremy, Russell and Mike. Message to Head Honcho at Talk. You guys are keeping us sane. I'm a regular viewer, texter, love the presenters, love the shows, no longer watch anything else. You are keeping me sane. Ready for this?
Go on.
This is from Reg Gardner. Listen to that comment from the Russians. To me, that sounded like a declaration of war. This is from Michelle. We're the ones escalating the war, Jez. If they feel their man was targeted, we're directly involved already.
They feel their man was targeted?
Yes.
Well, let's put it this way. General Kirillov, who was in charge of Russia's nuclear, biological and chemical defence troops, more than likely was killed by bomb by the Russians, I would have said.
Well, they're good at that.
Yeah.
They're good at bombing their own, right?
Although maybe not, because he didn't fall out of a window.
I don't think he was bombed by the Times, let's put it that way.
No.
You know.
And to say, I mean, I repeat what there's an extraordinary story that you brought in. To say, and I quote, journalists at the Times are legitimate military targets should be careful as anything goes in London.
Yeah.
Where does that leave us all? What do you make of it, my team? 0344 499 1000, text to 87222. Start your message with the word talks. The birthday of Ryan Lanky Thrussell. I thought that was a rash, Thrussell, didn't it?
I think I've had that.
Where are you on? What have you? Yes. I lent you that cream.
Yeah.
Wasby. I mean, another
Women.
extraordinary mistake.
Incredible mistake. You know, there are people who think that the Wasby Women shouldn't be given this compensation, and that's one way of looking at it. But the reason why the Labour Party are getting so much vitriol about this is because not to a single man and woman of them, all of them are pictured with people with their arms around them, holding up placards saying, we stand with the Wasby Women. Keir Starmer promising them that he was going to change it. Angela Rayner saying that, you know, any government worth its salt would fix this problem and give them the money. And now they're going, oh, you know what? We're not going to do it. It's disgusting.
And you think about you think about him going and visiting the farmers directly himself before the election and saying this isn't going to happen. We support you. This is my question, Mikey, and both of you really. How do they imagine that is not going to look? That doesn't go away, does it?
No,
forever?
Of course not, because this is the problem. They're now... I was talking to Dan Hodges about this, who normally is a defender of the Labour government.
Yeah.
Today he couldn't defend them. He said this is the worst thing single-handedly that they've ever done. Worse than the pensions.
Really worse than the pensions?
And the bar was pretty high.
Yeah,
right?
and the bar was pretty high. And he said, you know, this will be remembered. Even one of their own backbenchers has said this is like Grenfell, it's like Hillsborough, it's like Orgreave. This is one of the biggest miscarriages of justice that this country has seen.
Do we think, in terms of lack of conscience, genuinely, that Keir Starmer's got something wrong with him?
I think he has.
He's got no conscience, he's got no empathy.
I don't know. I can't work it out.
Is he a sociopath? Is he worse than a sociopath?
Yeah, I think he might be, because he doesn't get it either. He stands around.
He doesn't care.
And, you know, when he was being quizzed by Harry Cole yesterday on the Never Mind the Ballot special, we played some of the clips today, he doesn't really understand that people are calling him names because they don't like him. He's going, oh, I've been called worse names than that.
And he's out the country today when he has another appalling announcement because he's in Estonia because I spoke to Harry this morning. Fact, right? I don't understand. This is my point. I get if he's a power-mad, dictatorial man, but he's not. He seems to not understand that if you
I think he is
genuinely hack off really specifically important parts of this country, pensioners, the armed forces, Brexiteers, farmers, Wasby Women, they're not coming back.
No.
You can't give them a tax decrease in 5 years and they'll forget. They won't.
I do think he is a bit power mad. And the fact that you spent more time abroad. I mean, have you seen those memes on X and Facebook now? You know, Keir Starmer to visit Britain.
Yes.
I mean,
exactly
seriously, they're going
Maybe he goes abroad because he knows he's unpopular. I mean, I watched that disastrous interview on ITV with Andy Peters, who I like very much, but it wasn't right. And he said,
wrong guy.
Yeah, absolutely. But he's a good man. But he said to him, you know, you're not very. And he went, I've decided to take the important, hard decisions first, and that is what I'm doing. I mean, he
actually said, when he said to Harry Cole, you know, I had to make these decisions because we needed to make people better off. Well, we're not better off, OK? We're worse off. So he hasn't done that. And then he said, and also we had to do this to reduce the waiting times at the NHS. Well, he hasn't done that either.
Oh, because we've got a £22 million black hole.
He's either deluded because he thinks he's doing something that's not happening, or he's just an out-and-out liar.
Is he out of his depth then?
Yeah, he's out of his depth because what he's doing is playing out his sixth form political ideology.
Yeah, he is a liar.
Look, he absolutely is a liar. But he's playing out this ideology that he's always wanted to play out as a leader of a country, and he's got no idea of the implications and the consequences. He's got no idea how.
Does he care? Does he care?
No, I think he cares about his ideology.
Does he care about his legacy?
And I think he cares about his position on the world stage, which is why he's out there trying to meet as many of these people as he possibly can. Look, the man's deluded, and definitely, despite all of the rhetoric about country first, party second, that's absolute
That's all cobblers, isn't it?
That's absolute cobblers.
Right.
This man is putting himself, his party, and it's not going to have a legacy, Jeremy, is it? Let's be honest. All of that first, country second, and actually vast swathes of the country second.
Steve says, Reeves, the jumped-up bank clerk with the dodgy CV, the Waspi payment won't be a proper use of taxpayers' money, whereas overpaying flipping train drivers for a 4-day week is. And that's the reality,
isn't
right?
It funny? It's £10 billion they say they can't afford to pay. The taxpayers shouldn't be forced to wear, right? What else costs £10 billion this year?
Foreign aid.
No, forget about that. How about the migrants in the hotels? That's another $10 billion.
Yep.
You know, that's not apparently
11 billion on climate aid, 8 billion on foreign aid,
I can't have
22 billion on carbon capture.
People are looking around as we speak in their neighbourhoods, walking down the street. They see how Britain has been changing. They see more and more people arriving from foreign countries. They see people living in relative luxury compared to their parents who can't afford to put the heating on.
Private GPs.
They're seeing private GPs. They're seeing these characters wandering out of hotels, smoking, hanging about, bothering women, and they go, something's wrong here. What the hell is going on?
I'm just going to sound awful. I went back to Windsor the other day, took Henry to see some friends, right? I'm driving through Datchet. Datchet is, like, renowned for being in between Windsor Castle and, you know, I mean, their main hotel has got 375 migrants. You could see them walking up and down the streets, and nobody was on the streets. And you think to yourself, and I'm only fortified by this station and the things that we do here because you couldn't have mentioned the word immigration 10 years ago. You'd have been labelled a racist. What politicians need to understand is there are millions and millions of people who have always lived their lives correctly, who are walking around, as you say, going, no. I'm not extreme right. I'm not a homophobic, misogynistic, racist, whatever the hell they always say. Actually, just a person who's lived here, paid my taxes, and I'm hacked off.
I think, guys, I think we've also got to accept that this government and the previous one, of course, who should hang their heads in shame.
Absolutely, for allowing this to happen.
No, but they no longer is this about just pure incompetence. This is strategic. They are doing this on purpose. A, because they genuinely believe that immigration of all kinds increases the wealth of the country. Let me tell you, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Particularly when you bring the wrong people in. And they also, mark my words, a bit like Kamala Harris was doing in the United States, they'll give illegal immigrants the vote so that Labour stays in power forever.
The birthday boys said, "Can we go to a break?" Everybody sounds the same to me. He's going out tonight with his wife.
Is he? That's nice.
Yeah, I went out with her last night. Anyway, happy birthday, Ryan. Michael Graham, we bow down at the Temple of Immigrants. I'll be ready to pick you up tomorrow at 5. Russell Quirk, the boy done good. Great to be with you.